I should have known better than to drive that night. The streetlights on Mamashia Road had that sickly orange glow that barely cut through the darkness, and my head was swimming with Castle Lager and regret. 2:47 a.m. The dashboard clock seemed to mock me as I squinted at the road ahead, trying to keep the white lines from blurring together. Bull and Bush had been a mistake. The drinking had been a mistake. Getting behind the wheel was the biggest mistake of all. But after what Kafilwi had said, after she'd looked at me with those pitying eyes and told me she was concerned about my choices, I'd needed to drown that conversation in something stronger than her judgment. The road stretched endlessly before me, swallowed by darkness on both sides. No other cars, no signs of life. Just me, the hum of my aging Corolla, and the acacia trees that looked like skeletal hands reaching for something they'd never grasp. That's when I saw her. At first I thought it was a trick of the light, a shadow maybe, or exhaustion playing games with my vision. But as I got closer, there was no mistaking it. A woman stood at the roadside, one slender arm raised, thumb out. I hit the brakes harder than I meant to, and the car lurched. My seatbelt cut into my chest. She was beautiful. Even through my beer-fogged brain, I could see that. Her lace-front wig fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, the expensive kind from those fancy boutiques. She wore a fitted dress that hugged every curve, modern and stylish, with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer in the weak streetlight. Her heels were designer, the kind that cost more than my monthly rent. What was someone dressed like that doing alone on Mamashia Road at 3 in the morning? I should have kept driving. God, I should have kept driving. But I didn't. I pulled over and rolled down the passenger window. She approached with a smile that made my stomach flip, but not in the good way. Something about it was off, though I couldn't say what. Her movements were too smooth, too fluid, like she was gliding rather than walking. "Thank you for stopping," she said, and her voice was beautiful too, melodious, like a song you'd heard once in a dream and could never quite remember. Not many people would. "Dangerous out here," I managed, my tongue thick in my mouth. I reached over and unlocked the door. "Where are you headed?" "Not far." She slid into the passenger seat, and that's when I noticed it. No warmth. When someone gets into your car, you feel it, the shift in temperature, the presence of another body. But with her, there was nothing, just a sudden, bone-deep cold that made me shiver despite the humid October night. "I'm Vusi," I said, trying to ignore the goosebumps crawling up my arms. "Tebby." She turned to look at me, and in the dashboard's green glow, her eyes looked wrong. Too dark, like they weren't reflecting light so much as absorbing it. Beautiful night, isn't it? I glanced out the windscreen. The sky was pitch black, moonless, oppressive. Beautiful? "Yeah," I lied, pulling back onto the road. "Sure." We drove in silence. I kept stealing glances at her, trying to figure out what was bothering me. Everything about her looked perfect, too perfect. Her makeup was flawless, not a smudge despite the late hour. Her wig sat perfectly on her head, without a single hair out of place. And she sat absolutely still, not fidgeting, not checking her phone, not doing any of the little unconscious movements people make. She just sat there, staring ahead, not even blinking. "So, party?" I asked, desperate to fill the silence. "Something like that." Her lips curved into that smile again, and I noticed her lipstick, a deep burgundy that looked black in the shadows. "I've been waiting a long time for a ride." "Boyfriend didn't come get you." "I don't have anyone anymore." Her voice dropped, and suddenly the car felt even colder. My breath was visible now, coming out in little clouds. When had it gotten so cold? Haven't for a very long time. The AC's busted, I said quickly, though I knew damn well I hadn't turned it on. Stuck on high. Sorry about that. She didn't respond, just kept staring ahead with those lightless eyes. I turned my attention back to the road, but something caught my eye in the rearview mirror. For just a second, less than a second, I could have sworn there was no one in the passenger seat. Just empty space where Tebby should have been. I blinked, and she was back. My heart was hammering now, and the beer fog was burning away fast, replaced by something sharp and primal. Fear. You can drop me here, Tebby said suddenly. I looked around. We were in the middle of nowhere, just road and bush and darkness. Here. There's nothing. Here. It wasn't a request. Her voice had changed, layered somehow, like multiple people speaking at once. I slammed on the brakes without thinking, and we skidded to a stop. Right. Yeah. Here's good, I babbled, my hands shaking on the wheel. She turned to face me fully, and I made the mistake of meeting her eyes. They weren't just dark, they were hollow. Empty pits that went down and down into nothing. And behind them, I could see something moving, writhing, like shadows with teeth. Thank you for the ride, Vusi, she whispered, and I swear to God her voice was coming from inside my own head. I know where you live now. My blood turned to ice. What? But she was already opening the door, unfolding herself from the seat with movements that looked reversed, wrong, like watching a video played backwards. She stepped out into the darkness, and I watched in the rearview mirror as she walked away from the road. She didn't disappear into the bush. She didn't walk behind anything. She just faded, like smoke, like she'd never been there at all. I sat there for a full minute, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles had gone white, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Then I slammed my foot on the accelerator and didn't stop until I was home. I woke up screaming. Sunlight was stabbing through my curtains, and my sheets were soaked with sweat despite the cold that seemed to have settled into my bones. My head felt like someone was taking a hammer to it from the inside, but the hangover was nothing compared to the dream I'd just had. Except it wasn't a dream, was it? I'd really picked up that woman on Mamashia Road. I stumbled to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, avoiding the mirror. When I finally looked up, I froze. There was a handprint on the mirror, a perfect handprint, as if someone had pressed their palm against it from the inside. My bathroom didn't feel like mine anymore. The air was wrong, thick and cold and watching. I backed out slowly, keeping my eyes on the mirror, half expecting to see something looking back at me that wasn't my reflection. Nothing happened, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I spent the day trying to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Too much beer, too little sleep, stress from work, and Kafilwi's judgment. My mind playing tricks, that's all. But the cold stayed. Even with all the windows open, even with the October heat pressing down on Gaborone like a wet blanket, my house felt like a walk-in freezer. And there were the sounds. Small things at first. A creak from the bedroom when I was in the kitchen. The soft whisper of fabric moving in the hallway when I was watching TV. Once, I could have sworn I heard breathing. Slow, deliberate breaths that didn't match my own rhythm. By evening, I was jumping at shadows. I made myself dinner, macaroni with tin pilchards, and tried to focus on the football match. Botswana versus Zambia. But I couldn't concentrate. My eyes kept drifting to the windows, to the darkened hallway, to the spaces between things where shadows gathered. That's when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. The sound came from my bedroom window. Slow, rhythmic, patient. Tap, tap, tap. I muted the TV, my heart climbing into my throat. The tapping continued, steady as a metronome. I forced myself to stand, to walk toward the bedroom. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get in my car and drive far away and never come back. But this was my house, my space. I wasn't going to be driven out by some weird sounds. The tapping grew louder as I approached. Tap, tap, tap. I grabbed the curtain and yanked it aside. Neo stood in my yard, her face pressed close to the glass. That same perfect smile, those same hollow eyes. She waved at me with delicate fingers. I stumbled backward, my scream catching in my throat. My legs hit the bed, and I went down hard, pain shooting up my spine. When I looked back at the window, she was gone. Number. No, no, no. This wasn't happening. I ran to the front door, threw it open, and stepped into the yard. "Who are you?" I shouted into the darkness. "What do you want?" The streetlight flickered. Once. Twice. Then died completely, plunging the street into darkness. In that darkness, I heard her laugh. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Behind me, beside me, above me. A sound like breaking glass and wind through dead trees and something else, something I couldn't name, but that made every animal part of my brain scream run. "You invited me, Vusi." Her voice drifted from the shadows. "You stopped. You opened the door. You let me in. I gave you a ride, that's all. Just a fucking ride. And that's all I need." She laughed. "You see, I opened the door to someone too once. They called him different. Weird. He lived at the edge of the village. I hurt my heart to see him so alone. So I invited him to a party. He had other plans, along that Mamashia road. Movement in my peripheral vision. I spun around to see her standing by my car, running one finger along the hood. The metal beneath her touch was turning white with frost. "How did you find me?" My voice cracked. "You brought me here. Don't you remember?" She tilted her head at an angle that was just slightly too far, like a bird or a broken doll. "Your address is in your wallet. Your ID card. I saw it when you reached for your phone. I hadn't touched my phone in the car. I was sure I hadn't. Wasn't I?" "I want you to leave," I said, trying to sound firm. "Right now, or I'm calling the police." That laugh again, but closer now. "Call them. See what happens." She took a step toward me, and I saw something that made my bladder nearly let go. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was floating, hovering an inch above the dust, and where her shadow should have been, there was something else, something with too many limbs that writhed and reached. I ran back inside and slammed the door, throwing the deadbolt and the chain. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely manage the locks. Silence. I pressed my ear against the door, listening. Nothing. Just my own ragged breathing and the thunder of my heart. Then came the tapping again, right on the other side of the door, inches from my face. Tap, tap, tap. "Let me in, Vusi." Her voice was sweet now, gentle, reasonable. "It's cold out here. So cold. I just need somewhere warm, just for tonight. Please. No. Please, Vusi. I'm so alone. You don't know what it's like to be this alone, this empty. Please." Something in her voice made me want to open the door, made me want to help her. My hand actually reached for the lock before I caught myself. What the hell was I doing? "Go away!" I shouted. The tapping stopped. I waited, counting the seconds in my head. 10, 20, 30. A full minute passed. Maybe she'd given up. My phone rang, and I nearly had a heart attack. "Refill. Thank God." "Hello? Vusi? You sound terrible. What's wrong?" There's someone outside my house, I whispered, glancing at the door. The woman I picked up last night. She found me. She won't leave. What woman? Vusi, what are you talking about? I picked up a hitchhiker. Last night, on Mama Shia Road, and now she's here, at my house, and I don't know. The line went dead silent. When Refilwe spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. What did you say? I picked up a hitchhiker. Around 3 in the morning, on Dash. Mama Shia Road. Oh God, Vusi, tell me you're joking. Why would I joke about... What did she look like? Pretty. Really pretty. Perfect hair, nice dress, expensive heels. Vusi, listen to me very carefully. Refilwe's voice was shaking now. You need to get out of that house, right now. Go somewhere public, somewhere with lots of people. And whatever you do, don't let her inside. Don't talk to her. Don't look at her if you can help it. Refilwe, what? She's been there for years, that woman. They say a guy she had asked out to a party did bad things to her, then killed her and dumped her body along that road. People see her on Mama Shia Road late at night, always dressed up, always beautiful, like she is going to a party. But she's not. She's not alive. And once you pick her up, once you give her a ride... What? Once you give her a ride, what? She doesn't let go. She follows you, haunts you, drives you insane. There was a man in 2015. They found him in his bathtub with his wrists slit. Another one drove his car into a tree at full speed. There was another man who... A crash from the kitchen cut her off, glass shattering. I spun around to see the window, the one I'd left open to catch the evening breeze, hanging open, curtains billowing, and climbing through it, her body contorting in ways that shattered every law of physics and anatomy. Her head rotated a full 180 degrees to look at me, that smile still fixed on her face, her neck twisted impossibly as her body continued to slide through the window like a snake shedding its skin. I dropped the phone and ran, down the hallway, into my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I could hear her in the house now, the soft whisper of her dress against the walls, the click of her heels on the tile. Except the clicks came from the walls, from the ceiling, from everywhere at once. Vusi. Her voice was right outside the door. Why are you running? We're friends now. You can't get rid of friends that easily. I grabbed my car keys from the nightstand and moved to the window. I'd climb out, get to my car, drive somewhere, anywhere. Just had to make it to the car. The bedroom door began to rot. Right before my eyes, the wood started to warp and bubble, turning soft and black with decay. Water seeped from the cracks, and something that smelled like stagnant pond water and death filled the air. The window. Going somewhere? Tebby stood between me and the window, but she wasn't alone. Behind her, around her, were others. Translucent figures in various stages of decay, their eyes hollow, their mouths open in silent screams. Some were missing limbs. Others had crushed skulls or twisted necks, and they were all reaching for me with hands that weren't quite there. My friends wanted to meet you. They ride Mamashia Road too, or surrounding areas. All of us, waiting, hoping someone will stop, someone will see us, someone will care. The figures moved closer, and the temperature dropped so fast that ice crystals formed on my breath. My teeth chattered. My fingers were going numb. We get so lonely, Tebby continued, tilting her head that impossible angle again. So very lonely. And when someone finally stops, finally picks us up, well, we can't let them go. Can we, friends? The ghosts, because that's what they were, what Tebby was, I couldn't deny it anymore, moaned in agreement. The sound was like wind through a cemetery, like the last breath of dying men, like every nightmare I'd ever had given voice. I pressed myself against the wall, nowhere left to run. "Please," I whispered. "Please, I didn't know. I was just trying to help." "I know," Tebby said, and she actually sounded sympathetic. "That's what makes you perfect. You have a kind heart, Vusi. We could see it, feel it. That's why I chose you." "Chose me for what?" She smiled wider, and her mouth kept going, stretching beyond what human lips should allow, revealing too many teeth and a darkness behind them that went on forever. "To keep us company," she said. "Forever." "I don't want to." Funny. That was what I said too. I don't want to. But here we are. The ghosts surged forward, their cold hands reaching for me, and I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, until my voice gave out, until... I'm writing this from my house. It's been 3 days since that night. 3 days since Tebby and her friends surrounded me in my bedroom, their icy fingers inches from my skin. They didn't touch me. At the last second, just before those hands could make contact, the sun came up. Sudden, immediate, like someone had flipped a switch. And they were gone. All of them, just gone. I should feel relieved. I should feel safe. But I don't, because every night, as soon as the sun sets, I hear the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It starts at the windows, then the doors, then the walls. Sometimes it comes from inside the house, from rooms I know are empty. I see her too, Tebby, standing in my yard, in my hallway. Once, I woke to find her sitting at the foot of my bed, watching me with those hollow eyes. She doesn't speak anymore. None of them do. They just watch and wait. I called Rafilwi. She screamed at me to leave, to get out of Gaborone, to go anywhere else. But I tried that. I packed a bag and got in my car, and when I looked in the rearview mirror, Tebby was sitting in the back seat, her head tilted, her smile knowing. "Where are we going?" she asked. I got out of the car and went back inside. I haven't left since. The tapping is starting again. It's 2:47 a.m., the same time I picked her up. It's always worst at this time. Tap, tap, tap. I can see shadows moving past my window. More than one. More than there should be. They're gathering, waiting. I don't know what they want anymore. I don't know when they'll finally come for me. But I know they will, eventually. I'm writing this as a warning. If you're ever driving on Mamashia Road late at night, and you see someone standing by the roadside, someone beautiful, someone perfect, someone who shouldn't be there, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Because some passengers never reach their destination. They ended in that road, and they are forever looking for a ride. The tapping is getting louder now, more insistent. The lights in my house are starting to flicker. I can hear her voice through the door, sweet as honey, cold as the grave. "Come out, Vusi. It's time to go for another ride. This time I'll drive." The door is beginning to rot again. I can see her fingers, too long, too pale, too wrong, sliding through the cracks. I don't think I'm going to make it until sunrise. If you're reading this, tell my sister I'm sorry. Tell her she was right. I should have called a cab that night. I should never have driven down Mamasha Road. The door is opening now. She's smiling at me. God help me, she's smiling.